Jessie L. Weston's From Ritual to Romance, Chapter 4, Tammuz and Adonis. Now stands providing no shadow of explanation or excuse. The Grail here is the most revered of Christian relics. The dwellers in the castle of Corbenic have all that heart can desire, with the additional prestige of being the guardians of the Grail, if the feature be not a belated survival, which has lost its meaning. It defies any explanation whatsoever. India Crone alone, where the Grail bearers and her maidens are the sole living beings in an abode of the dead, is an explanation of the weeping women attempted, but an interpolated passage in the Herald's College manuscript of Percival states that when the quest is achieved, the hero shall learn the cause of the maiden's grief, and also the explanation of the dead knight upon the bier. Of the Grail and the maiden's woe, he who comes afterwards shall know. While the damsel from the knight's bier bears the Grail with many a tear, he shall learn then the truth that none could ever earlier have won. My stomach's grumbling in anticipation of the Grail. No, not really. Folio 180 V 0 to 181. Of course, in Percival, there is neither a weeping maiden nor a bier, and the passage must therefore be either an unintelligent addition by a scribe familiar with the Gawain versions, or an interpretation from a source which didn't contain the features in question. So far as the text at our disposal are concerned, both features belong exclusively to the Gawain and not to the Percival quest. The interpretation is significant as it indicates a surviving sense of the importance of the feature. I'm not engaged in reconstructing the original form of the Grail story, but endeavoring to ascertain the ultimate source, and it is certainly justifiable to point out, in effect, that no matter what versions we take, we find in that version points of contact with one special group of popular belief and practice. If I be wrong in my conclusions, my critics have only to suggest another origin for this particular feature of the romance. As a matter of fact, they have failed to do so. This is a 1920 book, so. In the Perilous Vows, we have the curious detail of a maiden who has lost her hair as a result of the hero's failure to ask the question, and the consequent sickness of the Fisher King. The occurrence of this detail may be purely fortuitous, but at the same time, it is admissible to point out that the Adonis cults do provide us with a parallel in the enforced loss of hair by the women taking part in these rites. While no explanation of this curious feature has so far as I am aware been suggested by critics of the text, we may also note the fact that the Grail Castle is always situated in the close vicinity of water, either on or near the sea, or on the banks of an important river. In two cases, the final home of the Grail is in a monastery situated upon an island. The presence of water, either sea or river, is an important feature in the Adonis cult, the effigy of the dead entity being not buried in the earth, but thrown into the water. Throwing into or drenching with water is a well-known part of the fertility ritual. It is a case of sympathetic magic, acting as a rain charm. It will thus be seen that in suggesting a form of nature worship analogous to this well-known cult as the possible ultimate source from which the incidences and mise en scene of the Grail stories were derived, we are relying not upon an isolated parallel, but upon a group of parallels, which alike in incident and intention offer not merely a resemblance to, but also an explanation of, the perplexing problems of the Grail literature, we must now consider the question whether incidents so remote in time may fairly and justly be utilized in this manner.